Welcome to Blinkers Off with your hosts, Jared Welch and Aaron Halterman.
What is up? What is up? I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. He's Ryan Stillman, and this is Blinkers Off. What is up, fellas?
Man, we got Ryan taking the tour. He was just on Dudes Who Bet Sports. Had a good time with him there, him and Papa Dude, and then he's here. So double shot of Ryan. That'll get you drunk quick, right, Ryan?
Absolutely. Listen, we talked NFL, we've talked life, and now let's talk about the main attraction, horse racing. I'm super pumped, guys. Middle of the year. Let's go for that push for the championship. How we doing today? We feeling good? Excited for the big weekend?
It is good. You know, earlier this week I was getting the website updated in the Breeders' Cup page in particular, and kind of refreshing that as I do every time about this time of the year, and getting the schedule, all reloaded basically, and I was like, man, this is like, we're here. Is this happening? We had highlighted by this weekend with the Stephen Foster, of course, being a Breeders' Cup winning you're in for the Classic. And then on top of that, we kind of have a little bit of a break until the Haskell. That's your next one. And then it really gets going again. And as we know from experience, guys, that once you basically hit the summer racing, that Breeders' Cup it's there in no time.
Yep, it's definitely going to be wild from here on out. When you think about it, all the way through Saratoga and Del Mar, because you do have Stephen Foster. Next week, you can get the Stars and Stripes festival there at Belmont at the Big A. You got Iowa Festival racing at Prairie Meadows, and then boom, Saratoga the next weekend. So we're here. We've kind of got through the lull between the Triple Crown and the summer racing. It's over. There's no more lull. I know last week, guys, we were pretty damn bored watching those races, and thinking of that. But now, if you're bored now, I don't know what to tell you, because now it's just every week is going to be something awesome.
Yeah, and it's nice to, because it's like when you watch that kind of racing, it's like it doesn't feel like it has many implications. You're just like, those, like when we watched the Ohio Derby together, we were like, yeah, that was something, like it happened. That was about it. So honestly, this is, obviously this is a classic, winning you're in, but it's a good one too, like we've talked last week, we talked about the older division and that horse of the year division. Well, there's at least one, I think for sure one in First Mission that still could make a case for horse of the year. And obviously he needs to win this weekend to make that continue. But this race has major implications.
Oh, there's no doubt. And I think throughout the years, this race has kind of become okay, he did this. Now if he can get one more, he's kind of up there, right? And I think that's what this is. It's definitely not a end-all be-all type situation, but it's kind of just been I wouldn't call it a stepping stone either. It's just more of that real close to being the top level race. Now he won it. Now if he can go win a Whitney or something like that, he's become maybe not a candidate, but the favorite for horse of the year, right? So First Mission for him, he's won 2 in a row since that awful Pegasus race. He can go on a run. You talk about Skippy Longstocking. He can also go on a run. He's won 2 in a row. If he could win this. So there are horses out there in this big one, really on the Fleur de Lis and the Stephen Foster that we'll talk about. There's big-time horses in these races that could jump up and be champions. They're not there yet. They're going to have a little bit more work to do, but this is a nice little setup race for them if a couple of them can get it done.
All right, we got. We'll talk about of course, the Stephen Foster. We've got some other undercard races at Churchill. We'll discuss. We'll go to Woodbine for there. They have some big racing this weekend as well. But I'm gonna flip it over here to you, Ryan, as I've been told. My producer here has handed me a sheet of paper. It says it looks like we have a new segment that you would like to get started here on the opening of Blinkers Off.
I certainly do, guys. How do you make money in horse racing? You have more knowledge than everybody else. You've come to the right place. Let's get some horse racing news in, folks. Why don't we start with international news? Japan, they're taking over the world right now of horse racing. Wouldn't you guys agree? They're everywhere. Let's talk about what we need to look forward to for the Breeders' Cup. We have some big news out of Japan this week. I don't know if you guys saw this. Did you see this horse named Below the Horn? Maybe not. I know it's been kind of lost in the. Yes. Blow the Horn is a Japanese horse who just scored his first Grade 1 victory and has earned his first berth into the Breeders' Cup. Yes, it's a win-and-you're-in berth he got for the Breeders' Cup turf. Why does this matter? This horse looked incredible. It was over a rainy turf course, but boy, he just blew past the entire field. He is, it seems like, headed here. Japan has won this race before in the past, so look out for Blow the Horn, guys. All over the racing news internationally, it looks like he is headed for the Breeders' Cup and is a horse to worry about. But let's talk about perhaps a more. Oh, Jared, did you have something to say, or should I transition to some more Japanese?
Well, I was just going, like I said earlier, I was updating the Breeders' Cup page on the site and going. I added a winner for every race, and when he said that, I was like, no, and then I'm like, wait, I remember that name. So yeah, of course, like did win the Tacker Zuka Kinen. Yeah, that race.
Yeah, the catchy name.
Yeah, carry on.
Yeah, you say that name 3 times and Beetlejuice appears in the mirror or something. It's a tough one. I'm gonna stay away from names on this show and not embarrass myself. But yes, but I think in more exciting news, do you guys remember a horse named Ushba Tesoro last year?
Of course.
Of course, right? Big deal. If I remember at the Breeders' Cup, he was supposed to be the big Japanese horse, not Derma. Am I right, guys?
Correct.
So whatever happened to that horse? Well, he just got his ass handed to him by a new rising star in Japan named King Sword. Yes, King Sword blew by him in a Grade 1 race. He's been sort of like always a bridesmaid, never a bride over there. This horse looks like a potential monster, you guys. And according to all outlets in Japan, King Sword is pointing for international racing, and they're sort of hinting at the Breeders' Cup. I mean, Derma showed us last year that he could certainly take down a international field when he was right there with White Barrio. Before I go on with this, would you guys be shocked to see a Japanese horse win a Breeders' Cup Classic at this year's Breeders' Cup?
No, I mean, you look at the horse you just talked about, you think of Derma Sotogate, and then also Forever Young, a horse that will be coming over here. So I think it probably is going to be their strongest contingent yet, based on what we're seeing so far.
Well, they're also talking about giving him some time and figuring it out. They talked about a logical step would be the Japan Dirt Classic on October 2nd at the same course and distance where he's just won. That race, the third leg of the new Japan Dirt Triple Crown, is expected to attract a world-class field, including Kentucky Derby third place and Breeders' Cup Classic potential horse Forever Young. So I don't know. This is an interesting horse. Just keep King Sword in your back there. Who knows where he'll show up next, but one to watch on the international, because right when it comes to Japanese horses, just having these names sometimes can help us when we're trying to bet. Wouldn't you guys agree? I mean,
Jerry says he doesn't care about horses he can't watch.
Same. So go on to something else.
Well, let's talk about horses we give a crap about then, right, folks? Why don't we talk about?
I am extremely bored so far, so let's go.
No. This is good. This is good. What is good to know is we've got these horses from the Triple Crown headed back to the track, guys. Guess which winner of one of the 3 legs of the Triple Crown just fired a bullet on Thursday's work tab?
I don't know.
Caesar Gray.
Well, good guess. The answer is Dornoch. Yes, he fired a bullet the other day, and looks like he's breezing well up at Saratoga. His next stop, they are talking about potentially being the Jim Dandy or the Haskell. So look for Dornoch, kind of a horse. You know, guys, what do you think about him? Kind of a sneaky horse, right? He won, and he doesn't have this big following of excitement for him. Could he be a sneaky horse to sort of, I don't know, get a good price on? Or what do you got? Do you like him in the Jim Dandy or Haskell? What are your thoughts on Dornoch?
I don't think you could really label him as sneaky anymore. I think he's there, right? And look, Haskell, Jim Dandy, if he can win one of those, he's number 1 probably in the 3-year-old division. So he's right there. If he's firing bullets, if he's in good form, I mean, he's going to show up there. And if he can run back to that Belmont race, guys, he's going to be there with a chance, no doubt.
I mean, he'll be. I mean, yeah. I mean, what we've got to work with right now. I mean, you say. I mean, I don't know how he's not in any of these races at the moment where he doesn't have a chance.
Yep.
Yeah, Dornoch is certainly interesting, but there is no 3-year-old alive. I think you guys would agree with me in the United States more interesting than Torpedo Anna. Gosh, I think we're all waiting with bated breath to see where this horse goes, because she's sort of on a horse of the year possible course this year, if she were to choose so. Last we heard, McPeak was saying he didn't want to see her race against the boys. Do you guys remember that? We were getting some quotes out there.
Briefly, yes.
Yeah, briefly. Well, so here's the latest news, and it's kind of interesting. His tone seems to have shifted. This is a quote from McPeak recently. She's back on track. She's training. She did a maintenance half mile by herself. Easy stuff. We've got 4 weeks until she runs. Keeping her in routine, she's probably 95 to 100% for the coaching club if everything goes right. However, we will evaluate that race and see about the Alabama or the Travers next. Kind of interesting, right, guys? I think maybe they're kind of wising up about maybe needing to go take on the boys somewhere down the line. It's interesting his tone's changed.
If she wins the coaching club and she does it, let's say, very impressively, she's going to the Travers. I am 100% confident of that. I don't care what he said before or now or what anybody tells me. That guy is going to go to the Travers if he thinks he can win it. I really, honestly, and truly believe that is the thing. If she doesn't run well in the coaching club, or if something goes crazy in one of the prep races and it's like, damn, that horse is going to be really tough to beat, he's not going to do it. But if they get to the Travers weekend and they feel like she's doing well enough and they feel like she can win it, she's going to be in it. I truly believe that. And I will be shocked if it doesn't go that way.
I don't think there's any chance she's not in the Travers. If, like you say, it's all, I mean, if she wins, this next one, because I mean, we saw, I guess this is what he does, right? I mean, it's, and she should, to be fair, but like, with that after the Derby, it was kind of like, I don't know, Mystic Dan, I don't know, we'll see, and then after the Preakness, it was like, I doubt it, probably not. And then, of course, the horse is worked himself into it, and so, I mean, he wants to run these horses in the biggest races, and what's bigger than the Travers?
Well, let's get to what possibly could keep him from it, because you guys probably would agree with me. It does sound like what he was attempting to do there was keep Torpedo Anna away from Mystic Dan. It sounded a little bit, right? Maybe part of it.
Yep.
All of it. Yeah. So here's the quote about Mystic Dan and what we have going on here from McPeak. We have no intentions of running him in the Jim Dandy. He ran hard all spring and is getting a bit of a break. Plenty of grazing time. Horse is happy and healthy. He'll probably go to Travers or Pennsylvania Derby. So do with that what you will. But, guys.
Stop right there. He just gave away what he's going to do.
Hit me. Let's go.
Mystic Dan is going to the Pennsylvania Derby. That's what I heard right there. Because if you're not running in the Jim Dandy, I don't think you're going Belmont. I don't think it's McPeak. I'm going to make this clear. I don't think that it's McPeak's thing to skip a prep, right? Like, I know a horse goes to Belmont to the Travers last year and wins it. I don't think that's a McPeak style. I think he's going Pennsylvania Derby, unless that horse, Torpedo Anna, does not run well in the coaching club. Then maybe he reroutes, but he's planting it. He just said Pennsylvania Derby there, and it's like, boom, that's where he's going.
Yeah, the fact that he's doing the same thing with her, only the opposite, where he's kind of hinting at, we'll include the Travers as a possibility. And then with him, it's like now we're including the Pennsylvania Derby as a possibility. I think, I'm with Halterman. I wouldn't even be surprised if we don't see him in that race either. Like he may have, we talked a lot about this where it was like, damn it, he won the race. Like now we kind of have to treat him as such, maybe they ran him a little too hard, in that sequence there, and maybe that time off, and who knows, we never know how these horses will come back once they go, they go to the farm or whatever, the time off. So you never know.
I will say this: if you guys remember when Torpedo Anna won the Kentucky Oaks, he basically said in the press conference, they asked him about the Preakness. And he was like, yeah, I mean, that sounds like something I'd do. We're definitely going to look at it. And then when Mystic Dan won the Derby, it's off the table. And I have no problem with that. It probably should have been, right? There's no forcing horses into races now, right? So to me, he could go tell the owners of Mystic Dan, look, we got to take our time with him now. And it's going to open up Torpedo Anna for opportunities. And again, it is all hinging towards how well she's doing and how well she runs in the coaching club. Obviously, she loses the coaching club or wins it by a neck. We're not going to the Travers off of it. But if she does what we think she can do, I'm sorry. He can't skip it, in my opinion. So anyway, sorry, Ryan. I said to interrupt you because when you said Pennsylvania Derby, the light bulb was up, should have been up over my head. So,
I mean, this is what it's all about, guys, right? It's kind of plotting where we're going because this end of the year push, all these races matter. Championships are on the line. And I'm glad you did say it, Aaron. And I think it's good for people to know, like, what's fun about hanging with the racing dudes is they don't just handicap the horses. I can bring them a quote and they're like, don't listen to him. He's full of, you're getting to see how I can bring them a quote and they give me the subtitle. So you're getting a little look behind it. And speaking of that, Chad Brown has clearly had a tough go of it this Triple Crown season with Sierra Leone, as far as some big disappointments in some major races. But where's he headed next? Because he's back on the work tab. And Brown has said he's yet to decide if Sierra Leone will try for the Jim Dandy Stakes or the Travers. So very, very interesting news there, guys, because, boy, this Jim Dandy seems like a sneaky race. Like someone, like you almost wonder if Torpedo Anna could just show up there and try to grab that one against the boys, because nobody might show up to this thing the way it's sort of heading, right?
the way that race always is, there's only 4 or 5 horses in it a lot of times, right, Jared? So
yeah, it always feels like it's kind of like this weird race between the Haskell and then of course the Travers, and so you just get kind of the Haskell and the Travers, but it's hard. You might get like one like solid horse in the Jim Dandy, typically it seems like, and then like 3 or 4 just like, oh yeah, those horses too.
Let's get to a horse. Let's stop with the 3-year-old talk for a second and talk to a horse who will never be forgotten about us, but we've just got to cover this because it's big news. You guys remember Rich Strike, the Kentucky Derby upset of a lifetime, who turned into one of horse racing's biggest shit shows overnight when infighting. It went from the greatest story of all time to, when your family gets together and fighting starts happening. But we have some interesting news on Rich Strike. Rich Strike has now been added to Bill Mott's barn. In case you haven't been following, he's back at Saratoga doing light jogging. And honestly, guys, one of the quotes I read from Bill Mott is it is 50-50 if he ever returns to racing again. But that their hope is to take it one day at a time and see if they can get the best out of him. Why I'm bringing this up is I think we just do have to talk about it, right? Do you guys ever see, because Bill Mott's the master at this, you give up on a horse and he comes back and he runs really well. I mean, this is arguably the best, horseman alive. He's in the convo. What do you guys do with Rich Strike? If he gets him right again, do you even see him winning anything? Or what's the laughing? Let's just really quick for the newer fans out there. What are your thoughts on Rich Strike?
By the way, when you said he's 50-50, I totally was expecting you to say like 50-50 for the Whitney or 50-50 for, like whatever, like to ever race again. Like, all right. I mean, like, what are we doing? To me, this feels like the owners or whatever, they got him like Bill Mott, obviously a great trainer. Like, he's like, sure, I'll take him, whatever. And then now it's just like, like at least the one thing we can say that you should feel good about is like Bill Mott is going to run him if he's okay. He's not going to run him if he's not, and so that is one very good thing. You don't have some bullshit trainer now where it's like they're going to run him even if the horse isn't ready or it doesn't want to run anymore. So I think there is that. I don't know. I definitely thought he was retired.
Yeah.
Well, he was going to Mott, then he was retired, then he's now back with Mott. I don't know. It's just I don't know. I really think at the end of the day, Mott saying that is really trying to temper everybody's expectations, right? And I've never heard a trainer say that about a horse, right?
Yeah.
I've never
look for the quote. I can look for the quote on it, but that was, you're looking at these things and
hilarious.
Yeah, this is with that situation. It'll be interesting to see because poor horse, he's just kind of considered by some to be just a fluke, and I think he's a little bit better than a fluky horse. He certainly loves Churchill, and it'd be nice to see him kind of go out and say, "Hey, I'm not what you guys all think." Let's transition to just 2 more quick stories. National Treasure is back at it. America's #1 horse at the minute, according to the polls. He is back on the work tab. Where would you guys love to see this horse headed next? I mean, if you were heading, where's the next race you would love National Treasure to show up in?
Whitney would be what I would want to see.
I like that spot too. Jared, would you agree? Whitney's a good.
I mean, yeah. I mean, he just dominated at Saratoga a couple of weeks ago, and I mean, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't want to bring him back out there for the biggest race of the summer, one of the biggest races of the summer. So, I think the Whitney seems perfect, and you could go Whitney. Let's see, when's the Pacific Class? That's too soon. Behind the Whitney.
probably go Whitney, and then you maybe go out to Santa Anita for their big prep day, and then Breeders' Cup.
True. Yeah, maybe you do that because obviously being out there this year at Del Mar, like you don't leave California again after that.
Yeah, you could also try for the Pacific Classic, but I've kind of heard Arabian Night could be like the California older handicap horse, and then National Treasure up at Saratoga. But that could always change. But the Pacific Classics out there, there for him. The San Diego handicap up at Del Mar as well is another one that's a prep for the Pacific Classic. So those are spots. Again, I've kind of heard Arabian Night is kind of aiming towards the Del Mar spots. So that would lead me to believe National Treasure up at the Whitney makes all the sense in the world. And guys, he looked pretty good up at Saratoga the last time we saw him, didn't he? So yeah. I think he's okay with that track up there.
Ryan, in all your investigations, have you come across? Have you spotted Muth anywhere?
I haven't spotted
anywhere.
Yeah, no. Nope. Haven't seen him. Haven't heard from him. We'll stay tuned for Muth news.
Okay.
Hold on. Did you DM him and he didn't hit you back?
Yeah, I slid into those DMs and he moothed me. He just moothed. I got moothed. That's like getting those. Okay. I think this last story you guys would find kind of interesting. We have a red hot freshman sire in our midst. Do you guys remember Vekoma?
Of course.
His first 13 horses started on the racetrack. How many of them do you think won?
8.
Okay, someone's heard this story.
I was going to say 8. Damn it.
No, it's perfect. What's also exciting was of those, not only have 8 of the 13 won, that's 62% win rate, but 11 of the 13, that's 85%, have run in the money. This is quite an incredible feat. I mean, I think this is an exciting sire. Where do you guys see in the future? Do you think this kind of horse, these guys are going to want distance? Where do you see with Vekoma? What do you do there? I mean, you guys remember this horse, I'm sure, from back in the day.
Do they all run weird too? Or is it, wonder if that's a thing that's, the paddle situation. Remember how weird he looked when he come? Yeah. I don't know. I mean, maybe like sprinting.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I don't think there's any reason why he couldn't be a good sire as far as that certain level. I mean, I guess they're all probably sprinting races. So
yeah, mile and under, I think will be their best. And I feel sorry for those 2 that didn't hit the board. They're the black sheep of the family right now.
They were looking for Muth when they were running, Aaron. They were looking for unfocused. Lastly on this, because it is good to know these freshman sires, especially as we approach 2-year-old season, I just would love to quickly run down a few more names that are making it. So Vekoma is off to an incredible start. The next one down on the list here through June 23rd is Complexity. 1,000 Words follows that. Then Instagram. Caracaro is down there next. Spun to Run, who kind of was a nice horse towards the end of his career, especially just kind of picked it up there. And I think Honor AP, who you'll remember beat the Great Authentic, is next on that list.
What guys, a bunch of shit you're reading now. Holy cow.
What were you thinking, Aaron, when you hear those names? Is this just a
bunch of donkeys?
Thought you would never have to hear those names again.
And with
Vekoma excluded, by the way, Vekoma excluded, but the other ones, oh God.
No, I got it. I think with that, I just got one more question for you guys. Of these horses that we have seen in the past, are you looking forward to Authentics coming onto the race? Is there anyone you guys have heard behind the scenes possibly that they should be aware of to be starting to look for these new babies? Or I haven't heard tons. That's why I'm asking if you guys had either. So
no, not really. I haven't really followed it, honestly. So I do know freshman sires really start to become a thing once we get up to Saratoga and out to Del Mar. That's when it really starts to jump up. But it's very good to kind of know the Vekoma situation right now. So
yeah. Well, with that, guys, we finished our news. Hopefully you can cash a little bit or stay interested, because really, I think the second half of racing, if you're a fan, this is where it really starts going. The Breeders' Cup is really where it's at for me, guys. It's so exciting and fun. And stay tuned to Racing Dudes and let's make some money. And speaking of that, Jared, the best place to make money is on the next segment, I think, right, my man?
Oh, it's like, what? You might have a future in this. Little,
thanks, guys.
I'm surprised though when you brought it in, I was waiting for like the all this little like sound effects for the news segment. I'll add that in post for you. Okay.
I love it. That's the Racing Dudes Racing News. Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun.
Choose, read the news. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
That was for you, Ryan.
I appreciated it. I appreciate
it. Okay. Today's show, we're going to give picks and look at the $1 million Stephen Foster at Churchill Downs. It is a Breeders' Cup. Winning you're in for the 2024 Breeders' Cup Classic. Then the dudes give rapid fire selections for some of the remaining stakes races this weekend at Churchill and Woodbine. Let's go. Yeah, if you could make me a sound bit in the next 10 minutes, that'd be great. Because you are my guy. So
I wish I had my equipment here. I wish I had it. But good segment, guys, and fun talking about it. It was fun hearing you guys translate McPeak. That should be its own segment. We show McPeak, and then the dudes translate it.
That could be a fun. How we always just do the like the shug, and can you guess what they're saying? It's like that could be another segment where it's like, okay, here's the quote from the now. Tell us what that really means.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, Halterman's so right, and it's not even like I didn't even think about it that way until he said that, or you said that, and then it was like I start looking at every quote I ever read, and it's like, yeah, it's so true. Like when they say something, it's like, well, obviously I know what that means, or so it's just funny. The closer, and sometimes. And it's not 100% either, right? And so that's sometimes the problem with being in the game as close as we are. Sometimes you're too close, right? There's how many times Halterman, you and I have talked about where it's like, well, shit, it's like with but going in the Derby, it's like, oh, he can't be training any better. Like he's never trained better, and then boom, so it's sometimes it goes a little too far.
Yeah, for sure, and I think. Horse racing's the easiest sport to lie in because nobody really knows what's going on back there with those horses. So, if you say we're never facing the boys and then you get a week before the race, they can come out and say, well, we were never going to face the boys, but she just jumped over her stall and went running out on the track. She's so ready to go today, So it's like, trainer speak is just, it is what it is. You kind of just have to read the individual person because it's just not what they say and what actually happens. It doesn't match up a lot of times.
All right, so let's see if we can give out a winner here for the Stephen Foster. What do you say, Ryan?
Let's do it. Exciting race.
All right, Saturday, Churchill Downs, race number 11. It is the $1 million Stephen Foster. Post times at 6:03 Eastern. You got going to Mountain 8 for, of course, the 4-year-olds and up, and it is a Breeders' Cup. Winning you're in for the Longines Classic. That's right, guys. This is a big time race. And listen, some years you don't have the like a really stellar group, maybe decent. This year feels like that's one of those groups. It's a nice field, and we've talked a lot about, of course, National Treasure is a leader in the clubhouse at the moment, but I mean, nipping on his heels is First Mission really, and the way, and really it's set up for him, either one of those horses. To make the run into being not only like a favorite, let's say, of the Classic, but horse of the year type candidate. And First Mission is he's got that Pegasus to kind of scratch your head about. But other than that, his whole career, the races he's lost, they were near wins, right? And yet these last two, man, have been absolute blowout wins. And it's like, wow. So we know from the start that this horse, at least Brad thought this horse was special. Maybe he's finally getting into that, what they thought all along. So I guess let's talk about First Mission to start, and maybe who you believe his biggest threats are.
Well, I mean, with First Mission, it all just depends on which First Mission shows up. If the one that ran the last two races shows up, he's way the horse to beat, in my opinion, and they're all going to have to rise up to that level in a lot of ways. He was just fantastic in those two races. The last time, he lost a race that wasn't the Pegasus. It was here at Churchill in the Clark, and it was a race that this Trademark ran such a huge race. So, but they both ran very, very well. So you're right. The only thing that kind of scares you is Pegasus was just awful. It was a total non-effort. Now, I think the good news is, guys, if you're backing First Mission, it's a clear throwout race. Like if he runs third, beaten 5 lengths, let's say in the Pegasus, you're like, okay, well, He's not good enough. But when you run 9th and you're beat 100 links or however, I don't know how much he was exactly, but you're beating, let's see, 20 and a half. You throw it out, he's not that bad. So it was just he didn't show up. Look, if he shows up at his Ali Sheba race, I don't think they'll beat him. So he kind of starts and ends with me with First Mission. Now, look, I am very interested in Disarms who I've gotten second. So you talk about the Challenger. I think Disarm is very fascinating to me. Obviously, last time out, he ran a race that looked like dog shit. I'm not going to lie to anybody. It didn't look very good, but we know he's better than that. I think it was just get him a light race. He'll be better next time out, and I think he will. But the problem with Disarm, he's looked good in a lot of races, and he gets second and third and fourth in a lot of races when he steps up. So he's going to have to improve quite a bit off of that last race. He's going to have to improve a little bit off of his big races last year as well. That's why I could not pick him to win, but I still have interest. So 2-4, that's kind of how I see it, boys, when I looked at this one.
Ryan, how do you feel about this one?
Okay. I think this is actually incredibly sneaky, exciting race because horses like King's Barnes and Disarm and First Mission have been horses that greatness has been expected of them at times. And I kind of think one of these horses could mature and we see something come together to, just blow us away in this race. That said, most likely not, but could 100% happen. Disarm is an interesting horse. I've loved this horse since I've been following him, which has been since I drafted him last year in fantasy with John. I know Asmussen is super high on this horse, has never given up on him, and he's had these moments of excitement that sort of make you think maybe there's more there, right? I think when you look at the Kentucky Derby, he finished fourth there, or the Travers where he finished second. He did look terrible, as Aaron said, in that win that he got last time out, but he won. First Mission looks like the horse to beat. I want to throw it to you guys with maybe a horse we're not talking about as much. What do I do with Skippy Longstockings? And that's something I never thought I'd say in my life, guys. But what do I do with this horse? I've been looking at this race a lot, and he's one. I just kind of go like, do I toss him? Am I putting him too low? He's the one I want to know about because this is a build your own adventure. Who pops in this race is how this comes out to me, and I don't know what to do with him. Help me make up my mind.
I mean, it's hard to say he's a wild card at 5-2 because I don't think that's a fair thing to say. But he's a little bit like First Mission in a sense that Pegasus early in the year was the head scratcher. Obviously got pulled up, and then since then he's rattled off, back-to-back wins, including the Oaklawn handicap. And he looked incredible that day. Really, he looked great. He is kind of he's going to dictate things a little bit on the front end, I think, or at least be early up on that in that pace. And he's running great right now. I mean, he really is. Again, he scratched even the dirt mile. He finishes third to Cody's Wish and National Treasure. Before that, he won the Charlestown Classic. He's rattled off some nice wins. I think my problem with him is I never want to take him at this short of a price.
Yeah. I would agree. And I never really want to take him at this level. I think that's the other thing about it. And he seemed like at the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, he was third. He ran well, but he was third, right? You look at him at Pegasus, he's never been able to get it done. I think he's a good horse at this level, but when he move up to that grade 1, it gets a little tough for him.
And what's interesting is he's actually never won a grade 1,
No.
So I think that kind of explains exactly what you just said.
Yeah, exactly. And you look at the Oaklawn handicap, which that usually draws a pretty solid field, right? It usually is a pretty good field. We did get the second place horse did come back to win in his next start. Reincarnate came back to run second in his next start. He was fourth in the Oaklawn handicap. So it certainly was a pretty good field that he beat that day. And that does give you hope for this one, right? But, Highland Falls, Red Route 1, Reincarnate, Last Samurai, Octane, those were the kind of the horses I'm listing off that ran that time. I don't think any of them are as good as First Mission. And I think that's kind of where the problem starts with me. It's if I'm going to take one of the two shorter prices, I think I've got to lean First Mission over Skippy Longstocking, right? So then you've got to make the decision. Is Skippy Longstocking clearly the second best horse? And if he is, well, maybe if you like First Mission, you got to play it straight. Or can you get somebody underneath that has a little bit better of a price and maybe be able to beat Skippy? And I think Skippy's kind of twin is Disarm a little bit, where Disarm has won some lower grades, but just hasn't been able to get up for that huge win. But does Disarm have more upside than Skippy? And that's kind of my thing here, where we totally know kind of what Skippy's been able to do with Disarm. Does he improve as a 4-year-old like many Asmussen horses do? And if he does, he's probably going to be a little bit better than Skippy in this race.
Well, and even to further that, I think there's some somewhat similarities to the horse he's sired by, Gunrunner. I mean, Gunrunner was a horse that I'd say was a little bit better as a 3-year-old than Disarm was, but overall had trouble winning, especially winning the big ones. Then what happened as a 4-year-old, right? We all know, right? He just was dominant. And maybe that's an extreme example, but being that he's sired by Gunrunner, it is a proper example, I think. I don't really take much into that last race. It was clear the horse had not ran in 10 months, 8, 9 months, something like that. So obviously they just wanted to get a race underneath him. He won, did the thing. We know he's way better than that, and his numbers would show that. If he can run anywhere similar to where he ran in the Jim Dandy, the Derby and the Travers, those kind of races, but also improve as a 4-year-old still, which I know is a lot to ask. He certainly could win this race. I think he is a complete wild card as far as the future goes. Another thing too is you kind of wonder how this race is going to unfold. Now, First Mission has been pretty good as of late to kind of sit off and kind of pounce when he's ready. But there is some speed lined up in here, at least some forward pace. Kings Barnes in here for one, Skippy another. You kind of want Classic Causeway. You kind of wonder if Disarm can kind of sit that perfect trip, similar to what he's done in some of his so it's really just going to be for me. It's just a matter of, does he have enough? Is he good enough to get to these horses at the end of the race?
One scary thing about Disarm that I will say, and Ryan, you know this as well as anybody, it took him off of a layoff last year about 3 races before we really saw him at his best, right? So now he's off a similar layoff, actually a longer layoff even this year. Will it take him more than just one race and then second race he's ready to fire? Will it take him the second or maybe the third or the fourth race before you see him at his best? That's something I'm a little bit skeptical about with him as well. Of course, different situation, different year, could be totally at a different situation, not health wise, but fitness wise, and that won't matter. But I mean, it's clear to see he really didn't get to his best self until that Kentucky Derby last year.
Yeah, for sure. And then, he really had a nice summer there. And then of course the Travers, I mean, look, he ran great in the Travers, really. I mean, I wouldn't say Arcangelo was ever worried about him, but he was gaining on him late in that race. And so I do think that's what's the head scratcher about him is you kind of have seen enough pieces there where you're like, man, maybe if he just can get it all together. If the prices stay the same, I'm picking Disarm. I do expect him to be bet a little harder than 6-1. But given that who's in here, I understand First Mission is the one to beat, and he probably should win the race. But Disarm for me has enough upside to play at 6-1.
Question about for Dreamlike for Pletcher. He's got Dreamlike and Kings Barnes. To answer the chat question there, I like Dreamlike better than I like Kings Barnes. So I don't know. Once the Dreamlike's 10-1, Kings Barnes 6-1. I like Dreamlike better.
Why? I guess I want to ask you further. Why? Where is the love? I guess fallen from Kings Barnes, because wasn't there for you a second, maybe after that Ben Ali, where you're maybe this horse, you could, or even after when he came back off of the bench, right, earlier in the year, maybe this is a horse that could start developing. Was it that Pimlico Special where he couldn't get the job done that you're all right, maybe he's not that good?
I've never been high on him, not once. I was not high on his 3-year-old. I was not high on him. His return race, his Ben Ali was very good against a very weak group. And I can remember when he ran in the Pimlico Special, I was telling people he should win, but he's not a special horse. He's not a great horse. I would not be shocked if he loses, and he lost. And I think, to me, he always gets overbet, and that's my biggest problem with him. He's always bet freaking hard. I just don't think he's that good. I really don't. He could shock me here, but I would take my chances with the stablemate.
Yeah, favorite in 6 of his eight career starts, Kings Barnes, that is. So,
Hmm.
all right. This is, again, a win and you're in for the Classic. I guess I should ask, so you're on first mission. I'm taking Disarm. And Ryan, who are you picking in the race?
Boy, I think I'm gonna go with Disarm. I think he's got my heart a little bit. I think Aaron said it though. I almost feel like I can't tell if this is the race he puts it together or the next one, but I might as well. If he's going to give me that price, I'm willing to take it. First Mission has let me down quite a bit, guys. I love the horse, but he is just, it's like, I don't feel like, yeah, I got to bet him here enough where I almost feel like it's worth taking a shot against, if that makes sense. Like, let him beat me. He's the horse to beat, but I feel he's beatable, if that makes sense. Yep. And maybe he puts it together finally. If I'm going to try to beat him right now, maybe this is the spot to do it for me, if that makes sense. If that's fair. It's
very fair, I think, is it's in some weird way, he's been a very frustrating horse in the sense that, okay, he all this hype, we heard all the hype, he goes and wins the Lexington, beats Arabian Lion, it was a great race. Okay, this horse is going to win the Preakness, and then he scratches. And then, of course, the hype after the Clark and after his, he's coming back as a 4-year-old. And the Pegasus was just an absolute disaster. He's been a hard horse to kind of like get on board with, I guess. And so this to me is such a pivotal race for him. Just such a monster. I mean, to me, out of anyone in this race, and that includes Disarm, who I like, and Skippy Longstocking, certainly, this race for First Mission is critical. He needs to show. Because to me, I mean, I don't know what I mean, like critical as in like he's not going to run anymore or he's not going to run in these kind of races. I think he probably still will, but I think he's going to should show you like, okay, he's either for real or I can kind of not really count on him too heavy as it relates to winning, like say winning the Classic, right?
Mm-hmm. I think you might be being a little hard on him because he really has showed up 7 out of the 8 races. But at the same time, I think you're also right. When he's gotten in those big spots, like for him, he hasn't been able to win. The Clark was a very big spot for him and he lost. The Pegasus was a very big spot for him and he lost. And the Preakness was going to be a very big spot for him. And that's not his fault. He got injured. So it's a little bit of both. I think he's been very good, but he hasn't captured that big moment yet. This is his big moment.
So in some weird way, as you mentioned, because I think you're right, like he's rattled off 5 of 8 wins. Yeah. By the way, the 2 or 3 lost. One of them was, you could say put a pencil through the Pegasus. One was by a nose. One was by 3/4 of a length. And yet we're still waiting for him, it feels like, to have his coming out party. It seems like in some weird way. So we'll see if he can get the job done here in the in this race in the Stephen Foster. But before we move on, let's ask. It is a win and you're in for the Classic. So besides him, obviously, I think we've made that very clear. Is there anyone else in here? I guess Disarm would be an easy answer, number 2, that you're like, hey, a win here, or even like a good effort. I'll probably still keep him on my radar for the Classic. And as any race, as far as the Classic is related moving forward.
I'm afraid we kind of know what a lot of these horses are. Like a Skippy, it's like he's a really good horse. Maybe he's not a classic type of horse. But I think the one horse we still aren't sure on besides First Mission, like you said, is Disarm. Because we just don't really know his top level or if he can rise up to that level. So he would be a good answer, I think, to your question. I think the rest of them, I don't really take them serious. And, they're going to have to kind of flip that narrative for me. Because look, the bottom line is we talked about a lot of Japanese horses that might be coming over earlier in the show, and you got National Treasure sitting out there. You got Senior Buscador, probably going to come back. Who knows? Maybe Safi can get it going again with Wida Barrio. I wouldn't think so, but maybe. So it's really tough. And that's going to be another level altogether. First Mission, we kind of think he can do it. Disarm's probably the other one.
I have one more question, but Ryan, give me yours.
Yeah, I think Disarm, and he feel like a horse that, let's say he's not your Breeders' Cup horse. He feels like that classic horse where you're like, of course he got in the trifecta or superfecta. Yeah. He's done that his whole career so far. He did that in the Derby. He did that in the Travers. And I feel like I love these kind of horses with a master horseman like Asmussen. I think what I feel with him, Jared, is he's building him up to something. This isn't the race to be all end all. I think you're onto it, both of you guys. I think that's a fantastic and very sneaky pick to sort of hit the board in the Classic at the very least. I love him underneath at the least. Do you guys agree with that comment?
Yeah, because I mean, him hitting, well, he got fourth in the Derby, but like, still, like, it was like, oh, there he goes. Of course he did it. It just kind of continued. I do think I would just say, like, I don't necessarily love them, but you got to think with Dreamlike and Kingsbarns, if one of those two run well, obviously they're Pletcher, they're horses that have, they're going to show up in a lot of these big races as it moving forward. I don't know if it means anything. And last thing, Halterman, have you seen a horse more mismanaged in recent history than Classic Causeway?
Yeah.
I mean, look at where this horse has ran. There was a minute there where he was decent. I mean, and I'll say decent. I'm being did win the Belmont Derby. That's his claim to fame. But listen, he goes and runs 3 races overseas. 2 of them were at Ascot. He goes and runs in the back on the dirt after running on the turf before Ascot. It's just, what the fuck are we doing?
I have no idea. It's so funny. Like, we feel like we look back at Kenny McPeek and what he's done with the 3-year-olds this year. And it's like, man, you know what? He really has done the right thing every time. He's been so good with these horses. And then you look at Classic Causeway, and I was doing the preview for the race on the video, and I kind of just said, I don't know what the hell they've done to this horse or what they were thinking. And you think back and you go, well, that's what you're used to kind of seeing. He's everywhere. He's all over the world. He's on the turf. He's on the dirt. And you're right. They had a really nice horse on their hands. You said he won the Belmont Derby. He also was 3rd in the Saratoga Derby and 3rd in the Jockey Club Derby, the other 2 big turf races for 3-year-olds that year. And it has been a shit show ever since. So I have no idea, after running, beating 19 links at Churchill in his second to last start. And then last time out, he's in an allowance. By the way, that's an off the turf allowance. There weren't hardly any horses in the race. And he got 4th beaten 10. And now we're here. I mean, this is a crazy entry to me.
I mean, and not that, like, let's just think about, like, okay, so you're right. Like, he had a nice summer that year where he ran it off those, he ran well in all those 3 legs. And then, okay, like, he struggles a little bit to end his career or end that year. Understandable. We've seen that before with horses. He had a long year. So what do? Well, when we come back as a 4-year-old, we go ahead and run him in the Essex. All right. Well, he actually ran well. Okay, but now he goes to the Oakland Handicap. Well, he doesn't run well. Now we're back to turf. And now we ran good enough to say, you know what? Let's go to the Prince of Wales at Ascot. That seems like a smart one. And then you double down with that by doing it again a month later. It's just, and then then he disaster overseas again. Don't see him for a while. Comes back, like you said, to Oakland Park, and I feel like the poor horse never, like, it was never on or in a certain division or never on a certain surface or a certain class level long enough to be very good.
Yeah, it's not classic Causeway. It's classic mismanagement. I mean, sadly, that's sadly the legacy at this minute. Well put, Jared.
It was quite shocking when he came back after his 3-year-old year. They started him on the dirt, and it's like, well, why would you do that? You've got a great turf horse, at least a good turf horse here. And then, like you said, it was baffling that we went 3 races overseas. I mean, and like I said, if you want to do it once, you want to go to Royal Ascot and run, good on you. Do it, man. Like, he was overmatched or whatever, but double and triple down on it. It's like, okay, bring him back. He's not going to, I don't know what happened.
It's he was 100 to 1, 50 to 1, and 33 to 1 in those 3 races overseas, and ran like it as well. So, all right, anyways, I just wanted to, I think you're right. Like, going through this year, you're like, wow, McPeak, like, he's actually doing everything right. Everything makes sense. And then you see this horse, you're like, whoa, what happened? So I don't think any of us think he's going to win this race here. But for us, myself and Ryan, we're taking Disarm to win the Stephen Foster. Halterman will take number 2, First Mission. Yeah, man, that's awful. But that's McPeak we're used to seeing.
It was pretty surprising.
But that's like the McPeak on steroids. You know what I mean? Like, that's the That's what you try to avoid for every horse in the McPeak barn. Like, hey, I don't want to end up like Classic Causeway.
Yeah, kind of an extreme example for sure. I mean, that's I haven't seen one
thing. Yeah, that's
yeah. But still, he did it. So
it did happen. Yes,
it did. Yeah, unfortunately.
All right, time for Rapid Fire presented by TwinSpires. Go to twinspires.com, use promo code DUDES, that's DUDES, and get up to 100% deposit match on your first deposit when you enter that promo code. Again, that's DUDES, DUDES. They also run the promotions all summer long at Churchill Downs with the get your money back. You can find out that info as well on our betting page, as well as any free picks page at racingdudes.com. All right, guys. We got a couple. Speaking of Churchill, we got a couple at Churchill. Then we'll go to Woodbine. Let's kick things off here. Earlier on the card of the Stephen Foster is race number 7, the Wise Dan Stakes. Again, Saturday, Grade 2, worth $500,000, going 1/116 miles on the turf for 4-year-olds and up. You got a field of 6 lined up here. Ottoman Fleet for Appleby and Pratt, your even money favorite. Thoughts, Halterman?
I'm going to go Ottoman Fleet in this spot. I think that last race really showed that, man, he's very good. He beat a horse named Chasing the Crown, who I tried to beat him with actually in the Arlington last time out, and Ottoman Fleet was just better. You look at the race 2 back in the Fort Marcy, got beat in neck. Baby just didn't run the best race or good enough race. You look at his races over here. Last year, he won the Fort Marcy, and he was third, beaten by Up to the Mark, who we kind of learned was one of the best turf horses in the world last year. So every time he's over here, he either wins or runs very, very well. I don't see a lot to be scared of this field. I think if he fires, he gets it done. So give me the number 2, Ottoman Fleet.
Ryan?
I think Aaron said it perfectly. But it's an interesting. I think this is a good race, and I I was kind of interested, Aaron. I'd love to hear, since you're so strong on it. What were your thoughts on Win for the Money? Because that horse ran such a good race last time out. Am I crazy for kind of going, wow, I don't know what to do with this?
No, I think that's a really good point. I think if you're going to look for an alternative, that is one that ran a huge race. Of course, it was a listed stakes there at Gulfstream, so a big jump up. Kind of my problem with him is we've seen big races out of him, and then he does get in these bigger spots, and he still runs okay, but maybe not quite as good. But I thought about him. I think at 9-2, if he stays there, he's not the worst play you could make, but I don't know that he can match up with Ottoman Fleet. I mean, that's kind of my thing. We saw a huge number from Win for the Money last time, but we see it basically every time for Ottoman Fleet.
Give me Ottoman Fleet here as well. He's been awesome, especially in the United States. Pratt and Appleby, when they've teamed up in the last year, 4 starts that they've done it, and they've won 3 of them, 75%. So obviously, nice little percentage there. And listen, I think the 6 Exalted is interesting. I couldn't quite get there. 1, to beat a horse like Ottoman Fleet, and 2. You wonder with, coming from California, will the horse be able to transition, as well as is the class level just a tad high? But I do think the horse is very consistent and is very reliable. So if this thing doesn't, if Ottoman Fleet doesn't run his race, I wouldn't be shocked at all to see Exalted run well. So that's kind of my wild card in the race. But number 2, Ottoman Fleet for me. I think Appleby and Pratt increase that percentage. All right, let's go to race number 8. The Fastest Tipton Fleur de Lis, Grade 2, worth another $500,000, going a mile and 1/8. For the Fillies and Mares, 4-year-olds and up, field of 6. Lines up here, and Celia at 6-5. I always want to say it differently. 6-5. We saw her go up against Zara last time out, and no match whatsoever. Is there really any way you can see her getting beat here?
You could always see him getting beat. We saw her kind of not show up 3 races back at Keeneland. If she runs that kind of race, she will get beat here. But her best effort, I think, is simply just a little bit better than this group. I really loved her, obviously, on Derby Day in that allowance race, and she bounced out of that with a beautiful effort in the Shawnee. I thought she got even better in that spot. I really like her. I do worry a little bit because that Double Dog Dare stakes at Keeneland, it wasn't great for her, right? And maybe she just needed a couple races instead of just 1 before she finally got, into her top form. But sure looks like she's in top form now. I think she wins here. We talked about First Mission and how winning the Stephen Foster, and now he's kind of up to the top level. One more win can be the top level in the division.
Yeah.
I think it's the same for Celia. I think she wins here. I think a race like the Personal Ensign at Saratoga will be in her sights if she wins this one. And if she can match up and beat Idiomatic, all of a sudden she could be on top of her division, or randomize a horse that beat Idiomatic. So a lot to gain for her, and I think she's going to do it. I really like the number 4 Celia.
What about you, Ryan?
Boy, Aaron's confidence makes me shook on this because I kind of like the 2. I think it's a 2-horse race. And the thing I'm scared of is I'm a very big Close Hatches fan, and I've liked your pick, Aaron, for a long time. And I don't know if I'm just emotionally attached into that. I'm just having trouble for some reason with this horse. It's like I might regret it. If she's going to get beat, I think the horse to do it is the 2. And I could just be crazy. I like the 4. I just wonder, am I crazy for kind of liking the 2, man? I almost feel like I wish you guys could give me 2 picks. I feel like one of them for sure wins this, and one's a little bit better of a price maybe, and it's a tough call. I know this is weird, but I really feel tough about this, picking against Shotgun Hottie here.
I think your 2 definitely makes sense if she can run back to that race last time out. She really stepped up, ran big last time out. Can she do it against Tougher Company? The reason why I didn't pick the 2 is we've seen her against Tougher Company, and she hasn't ran all that well. So, but Cherie DeVoe, Paco Lopez, that's not bad. That's a pretty good combination.
Yeah, she's ran some races, and obviously having Paco back aboard has helped, who teams up really well with Cherie DeVoe. So, I'd probably have her second, honestly, even over the 6, just because she at least offers some sort of we don't quite know exactly what she is. I feel like I know that the 6 can't match up with Celia. So I'm going to go the 4 as well. Halterman on top. I'm not too worried about it, honestly. I think as long as she runs her race, obviously that's key. She'll win. But listen, if you go by numbers, again, the 2 has races that could beat her underneath her. So we'll see what happens. But I do like the 4 Celia on top to win the Fleur de Lis. Halterman, I'll move the transition, but Tax, are you so I remember I picked Tax to win the Apple Blossom, and that was a really good pick. But then the horse bounced back and ran awesome next time out. What is Tax? Is Tax just not very good? Is Tax only run well when you don't think she will? What do you think of Tax?
I think Tax is a horse that just kind of almost like the female version of Skippy Longstocking in a way. If you spot her in that kind of not the top level, but just kind of below it, I think she can win. I think when she gets up against the highest of the level, the better horses in the division, I still think there might be a race she can sneak out and win, but I think overall just going to be a little overmatched. That's how I look at Tax. But you're right. Her 2 allowance wins this year.
I know.
They've looked good, and they look like, okay, you can go up now, and then it didn't happen last time. I expect, look, this is not the toughest race in the world. And if Celia isn't quite as good as what I think she is, Tax can win the race. It's a pretty good spot for her, but I couldn't get there.
All right, let's go over to Woodbine for a couple of races here. We're going to start with race number 7. This is the Bet365 Highlander Stakes, grade 2. We're $200K going 6 furlongs on the turf for 4-year-olds and up. And you got a field of 9 lined up here. Filo di Ariana at 2-1, 3-1 the Saratoga Flash, 4-1 Oceanic. That's really your main contenders. Witty at 6-1, Step Forward at 8-1. This is a tough one, I thought. Very interesting race. What'd you think?
Yeah, this is a toughie for sure. I went back and forth on this a lot. I ended up in the number 3 Oceanic on top. I thought last year he was going to get the job done in this Highlander at 9-1, got second, beating a half length. They kind of went fast early. It set up, almost got there. I think they're going to go fast early again. And you look at how this horse ran at Keeneland last time out, that was pretty sharp effort. I think he is coming into this race sharper this year than last year when he almost won it. So I think if the pace can set up, I think Oceanic's going to come with a pretty big run here. It's weird. This horse last year prepped at Horseshoe Indianapolis before running in the Highlander. This year went to Keeneland, and it was a nice allowance win. So I'm going to take a shot with number 3 Oceanic.
All right. I like it. Ryan, where are you going?
Wow. I got so excited when you said that, Aaron, because I liked that horse and was not necessarily leaning there, but hearing you pick it, I mean, pick him. I'm going to go with Oceanic as well, but I'll tell you why this was hard for me. This is a crazy race. I feel like here is where you take some shots. This looks like a hot mess to me. In other words, I just don't feel so confident about any pick I make here as a lock. And the reason I'm saying that is I kind of like the 4 Saratoga Flash, and of course the 6 from Brazil, which I'm going to butcher this name, Philo di Ariana.
Right. How's it feel? It sucks, right?
I'm getting, yeah. I can tell you it's a lot easier watching it than saying it. But I those are the ones where I was kind of debating between, and I just thought, am I crazy for liking the 3? So, okay, sorry for that randomness, but I'm going to go 3 because I like your reasoning behind it, Aaron. I feel like this is a great spot for this horse. I think so too. You know, if you want to get it done here, I think you can.
I'm going to take the 4, so I'm glad you kind of liked it. This is, cutting back, I think, is a critical thing for the horse. This horse has been running a mile 16th, mile. It's been a while since this horse has ran at 6 furlongs. So I think the cutback will be nice. Obviously, Safi knows how to get these horses ready. The horse has got a lot of speed. So I think this horse will have a say in things as well. And sometimes in a race like this, it just isn't quite, isn't very good. You get a horse that's got some speed, like it might be tough to catch. So give me the 4 Saratoga Flash. I do like the 3 as well. So I'm glad you guys are picking that horse as well. All right, let's go to, I think this is race 10. Yes. The Nassau Stakes, this is grade 2, worth $175K, going 1 mile on the turf. For fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and up. Field of 10 shows up here. Fev Rover at 5-2, 3-1 full count. Felicia, and then you've got 6-1 on Fastest Flight. Carol Consort at 4-1 for Adder now. So, what do you think of this one, Alterman?
I think this is the bigger of the disaster of the two of them. What a tough race this was. I think this is your classic. I went 5 deep and my 6th horse beat me. You know what I mean? I went 7 deep and my 8th horse beat me type of thing. Boy, it's wide open.
Listen, these 2 races, I'm hoping I hit the board in one of them. These are tough races.
It's certainly, these are races where, I've kind of, since we launched the best bet, my betting strategy is kind of be very selective. This is not one that would make my best bets. You know what I mean? So this was not a race I would be wagering individually. Now, in a pick 4, pick 5, obviously you got to bet some that you don't like as well. But, geez, I went number 10, Fastest Flight. I thought the 2 races for this horse back-to-back to kick off her season have been pretty good. Got second in her first race off the layoff at Gulfstream, and then won the Modesty last time out at Churchill Downs. Big price, too, 20-1. Could be wedding funeral type of thing. I did not attend the wedding when she won at 20-1, but perhaps the funeral will not be this race. Who knows? But look, back-to-back really good races. You don't really see a lot of back-to-back good races when you kind of look up and down this this group. So I went number 10, Fastest Flight on top with not a lot of confidence.
Ryan, what you got?
Okay. You guys said it all. Like, this is not good. If this race was a woman and your best friend was dating you, you'd be like, dude, there's so many red flags here. Please, go elsewhere. I don't even know what to do with it. But if I had to pick, I'm going to go with the favorite, Fev Rover from Ireland. I think I like Cassie. The numbers are good here. And since I'm not just strong enough anywhere else, after circling this a bunch, I went with the favorite who, I think it's as good as any. What do you guys think? Am I crazy with that pick? Just saying, look, yeah,
no.
Okay.
No, I mean, this is Fev Rover's deal in this race it's one of those cases of, is the horse lost a step, or is the horse just need this major class relief? That's the thing. This horse has been running in grade 1s, and not just grade 1s. The New York at Saratoga, the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf, the grade 1 at Woodbine. Where the horse won, but prior to that, the Beverly D, the Diana, that's like really good races. Really, up until the last 2, though, has at least been respectable, right? Either won or been respectable. The last 2, just that's what kept me from picking her. I was like, I'm kind of wondering. It's like there's losing and there's really losing. I get it. We're talking about the Breeders' Cup and you're talking about the New York. Those are like, I mean, top end races. So I may be being a little too hard on her. But yeah, I don't hate the pick. I think you got to use her, especially in anything. I went with the 6, Full Count Felicia. I just ultimately went there. I like the fact that this horse is now with Kevin Attard, which Halterman knows all about that trainer. Like, I mean, you talk about Woodbine, you can't talk about it without this trainer, right?
Yep.
And now that the horse is with him, again, a horse that's ran well, really most of his career or of her career lately. That last race wasn't great, but won a grade 3 at Gulfstream Park, ran 4th in the grade 2 Goldacova at Santa Anita. Has kind of been all over the place. So I think this horse kind of finds a home here at Woodbine with this trainer. So give me the 6 at 3-1, Full Count Felicia. All right. Yeah, that's if any one of us can hit a winner, if we can just say let's say it's a pick 2 and we go 3 by 3, or I guess you guys picked the same horse in the last race, so go 2 by 3. I'll be happy if we make it through it.
It is tough. That is tough sledding. Really, really tough.
It is not the Breeders' Cup races that we were talking about earlier.
No.
All right, guys, that's all the time we have. Check us out at racingdudes.com for our free picks and, of course, our premium selections on our handicapping products page. Just click that Get Racing News Premium button at the menu at racingdudes.com to learn more. Guys, remember, this is the kickoff, really, of good racing, I'd say, for the next, say, 12 weeks. I mean, it's gonna really get going here. And the Haskell is the next Breeders' Cup winning you're in race. It also happens to be a Breeders' Cup winning you're in for the Classic. We will have a betting Bible available for that. Halter and I were discussing our plans over our trip, which we will get to in a second, to St. Louis. And we were talking about kind of our plans. Halterman, I'll let you kind of unfold those, but that we will have a betting Bible for that.
Yeah, so the next betting Bible will be the Haskell, and then we will do the very next week, we will do the Jim Dandy. So the Haskell and Jim Dandy both will have betting Bibles. Then we will do 3 weeks in a row as we will do the Whitney live from Saratoga as well. So Haskell, Jim Dandy, Whitney, 3 betting Bibles back to back to back. And then we'll do the Travers, and we'll also do the Pacific Classic. That'll be rounding out the Del Mar and Saratoga meets right there. So those are the 5 Bibles to look forward to. After that, probably do Pennsylvania Derby. We haven't discussed it yet, but probably Pennsylvania Derby, one of the big prep races at Keeneland during the Breeders' Cup preps. And then, of course, the Breeders' Cup. That'll be your lead in as we crazy are in the second half of the year now.
That's right. And guys, July, we're about done with June here, which is even crazier. And now would be a great time if you head into July to be a premium subscriber. You can go in for as low as $70 a month. And as Halterman said, so many betting Bibles coming up. You do get those for free if you are a subscriber. So the value is there alone. If you are going to be purchasing those individually, you might as well be a subscriber and get all of them for free. Especially, all the big racing that goes on. You get free picks, by the way, for every single race, every single day, at every single track running in America. So you get that on top of every betting Bible. So go to racingdudes.com, go to that premium page. You can learn all about our subscription options. We're on Twitter at racing_dudes, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. You can find all episodes of Blinkers Off. On our podcast page, go to Apple Podcasts, or you can just, if you're watching us on YouTube, hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell, and you can get alerted when we go live on all our YouTube shows. Let's see. The Magic Mike Show. They did the Churchill Downs Pick 5. So if you wanted more info on the Pick 5, some of those races we covered, you can get that, as well as the Dudes Who Bet. I saw you guys. I watched a lot of that show earlier before this. You guys and your dad, Papa Dude, were on talking about the NFL. Dude, that was like, wow, we're talking about the NFL right now. This is amazing. Like, we're 2 months away, less than 2 months away. For preseason games, like, it's crazy.
Yeah, it was fun. I was kind of looking, and it's like, okay, well, starting next week, that show will kind of cover more of the summer racing and the group pick 5s that we like to do. But I was like, this week is a good week to kind of start it. I kind of had a little help. The boys over at VSiN also started their NFL coverage today. I said, well, hell, we should just mimic that and do it for Dudes Who Bet Sports. If you haven't checked it out, go ahead and do it. Ryan was there as well. I thought it was great. I thought Ryan and Papa Dude really brought a lot of info. So
I'm not going to spoil it, but I did listen to a lot of it. I did listen to your borderline insane Super Bowl pick, and I want everybody to go watch it to get that. So it's not insane is not the right word, but just bold. It's I like it. I like the aggressiveness. So make sure you go watch the show to get everyone's take on that. But we can't leave the show without talking about our trip to St. Louis. I mean, we teased it last week when we were going to go. We're back. Have you guys recovered? I mean, I'm sure. Did you guys talk it off for like 24 hours after? Because I mean, I didn't get that kind of. I had the boys with me, but did you need that kind of? Okay, we gotta like mellow out. You're old, Halterman. You need time.
Yeah, I do. No, I feel good. It was a good trip. Yeah, I mean, we were 7 outs away from a perfect game. I don't know if that's almost a perfect game, but we were 7 outs away from seeing a perfect game. That was cool. We took our son Ryan up into the arch. He got to see that, so that was cool as well. So, no, not a lot of recovery though. I just went home, and look, as soon as we got home, we had the super intense hockey game that we had to watch, and we put St. Louis in the rear view mirror because we had to get the Panthers home.
Ryan, how are you? Have you recovered from your trip?
I have to say St. Louis is awesome. If you ever have a chance to go to any sports game in St. Louis, it blew my mind. That is a great sports town. Making it even better is when you're with your racing friends, Jared, Aaron, Heather, and Paul, who has been on the show, his lovely wife, Monique, and their sweet goddaughter, Lena, were fantastic. And I think that was kind of a trip of a lifetime. So many memories, but no, I had a great time. And look at that.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, it was incredible. I think that was the best baseball game I've ever been to. Would you guys agree? I mean, it was wonderful from start to finish. So
definitely
much fun.
One of the best. I mean, it's from the overall experience. Like we had great seats. Good job, Halterman. And we had just the game itself, like a lot of offense early in the game, so that was fun. And then the perfect game was it got. I mean, maybe it feels like almost Halterman because it's never been that close for us personally there, but like it was one of those things that it was like me, it was Halterman, me, then Paul, and like the line there, and then it kind of went down. And that probably summed up the order of like the people that were really into it.
Yeah.
And as it went down. And so like we all like I think it was like after the 5th, maybe. I don't remember. I think it was after the 5th. And Halterman goes to me, he goes, "Hey, have you looked at the scoreboard?" And I'm like, "Yep." And then we just left it at that. Yeah, that's all we said. Like, and then Paul after the next inning, he's like, "I wonder how many pitches Sonny has." And I was like, "He's got enough. Like he's got plenty left, kind of thing." It's like, So we were all kind of hinting at, we knew what was happening, but we obviously, the rules, you don't talk about it. And we got into the 7th, and he got that first out, second 2 outs. I was like, "Oh shit."
Yeah.
Like this might happen. And then,
each out was building, and it's like this is becoming a reality because not only was he mowing them down, like he had his good stuff, right? He was really pitching well, and really there hadn't been any close calls, and then all of a sudden a guy just like bombs a home run. And it's like, oh, what a way to end it, right?
Yeah.
So.
I have a question. I didn't ask you guys this. So you've been to the Triple Crown drought getting broken. Jared, you've seen your Chiefs drought, let's just call it that, right? Where they've just been on a tear of kind of sucking or mediocrity in Mahomes, and you've seen that get broken. And Aaron, you have been with your St. Louis Blues. You've sat through just heartbreak, and you've seen these incredible things. Where did the almost seeing a perfect game, were you getting that feeling like had it gone that way, it was going to give you, you know what I mean? You were kind of witnessing it. How did it feel in comparison to those incredible things you guys did?
I would say, if it would have happened, it's kind of hard to compare it because a perfect game that's not something that's even in the realm of your thought when you go to a baseball game, until it is, right. So
I mean, just think about all the game, like think about the history of baseball.
Yeah.
And all the games that are played, every season, right?
Yeah.
All the different matchups, all the different pitchers, all the different, I mean, just it's astronomical. There's been 20 something, 24, 25. So it's in the 20s. I remember.
Yeah.
Perfect games ever.
Yeah.
Ever. So like when you do the numbers, it's even more rare than a Triple Crown. It's more rare than, you know, the Blues winning or whatever. Like it would have been so. But to the point of that, I wasn't like when that home run went off. One, that it helped that it was like not some like bloop single or the guy misjudged it or whatever. Like it helped. It was like the moment it came off the bat, you're just like, yep, all right, don't stop sweating that one because he just killed it. But I was like, yeah, you know, I'm like, it was so hard. That's such a hard thing to do. Just to get that far, I thought was pretty impressive. And then they about blew it. That made it fun. So it kind of got, oh, well, we're going to win the game. And then it was like, oh shit, now we may actually lose this game. So it actually was a kind of a great, entertaining game all around.
It was. And I do, it's hard to say what I would have thought if he would have got it because it was building. But you still in the back of your mind was like, that's a lot. That's really hard to do. And also your defense has to play flawless for the game too, because if a guy makes an error and they get on base, well, the no hitter's still alive, but the perfect game's gone. So no errors, no walks, all of it. He got the 3-2 on one batter in the 6th. And I thought, oh man, if he walks this guy, that's the perfect game, you know, and he got him out. And I think when he got the 3-2 in the 6th and got that guy out, that's when we were like, this has a chance like this, you know, and I think the crowd with each inning, they were getting louder and louder and they're starting to realize this might actually happen. And I really thought he was going to get into the 8th. I was kind of surprised he gave up the home run, but in a way I was kind of relieved because it's like, okay, because this is getting a little nerve wracking, you know, I didn't come here to be nervous. You know,
I was wondering like how you, because I didn't ask, because again, we've already discussed it. Like you could just tell by sitting next to you, like we both knew, and like our vibes, like we knew. But like how, like you're talking to say your cousin, I'm sure you guys are messaging back and forth about the game because she watches the game, and like so someone not there, like is there ever a mention of like a subtle type mention, or like do you not? Was it literally just not discussed until it wasn't discussed?
There was no discussion of it. So I have two cousins that are diehard Cardinal fans, Madison and Lindsay, and they were at a pool tanning, but they were following the game because, like I said, they're sports fanatics. Lindsay was following the score, but she didn't understand. She didn't realize the hits, right? Like she was just scrolling ESPN, like had it on ESPN, but she wasn't clicking on. She was following the score.
Right. Madison
knew. And Madison wouldn't tell Lindsay about it either because Madison kept being like, oh my gosh, this is a great game, you know? And Lindsay was like, well, they're ahead 4-0. Like, who cares type of stuff, you know? I don't know exactly what was said, but that's kind of the gist I got of it. And then when they hit the home run, Madison did a similar thing that we did where it's like, oh, Lindsay, he had a perfect game. And she's like, he did, you know, that kind of thing. So the same situation was happening. She would not talk about it. And no, there were no text. And then as soon as the home run got hit, Madison texted me and said, oh my gosh, I thought you were going to see it, you know? So they know the rules though. No, that's off limits.
Yeah, it was Ryan. I know that, you know, you wondered like the same thing because you were with Heather, like sitting over by Heather, and you two were like why is everyone? Because what's so amazing about St. Louis, and I know there's other stadiums like this, but my experience is St. Louis. Like we have some of the best fans in all of sports, really. And the moment like it did, you know, it's like you don't see that ever, right? The opposing team hits a like 450-foot home run, and the crowd stands up and starts applauding. Because you're applauding the pitcher, like we all. It's like you said, like we all knew at that moment. Okay, that it's like the release a little bit. It was just a kind of that was not something you see or experience, I guess I should say. Like Ryan, were you like wondering what was happening there?
Yeah, I come from the land of the Dodgers where they don't cheer for you they don't care if it's a perfect game. They're booing you for the loss. You guys all stood up and cheered, and I wasn't clocking it was a perfect game because I had so many people I hadn't seen in forever and talking, and I thought, you guys are so polite. This guy just scored on you. You're all standing up cheering, and that's no, it's the perfect game. I can finally tell you. No, but you know. Look, I want to say something if I can kind of wrap up why we're talking about this, right? Can I like put a bow on this from something? Yeah. So I met these guys when Racing Dudes was really just starting or towards the beginning of it. And the best part of racing or betting is the memories and the friends you make, right, guys? You put money down and you win or lose, but you never forget that. John taught me that, John White. And so I just want to thank you guys. You've been a massive life changer for me. And this weekend's been one of the best. This whole week I've gotten to hang out with you guys has been one of the best weeks of my life. And I encourage everyone out there. I know like this is a game of like, we all have opinions in this, but that's not, I know that they say that's what racing's about, but it's the people you're with, the sports, the memories you make. And like, I think if everyone got to experience the greatness of the friendships you can make in racing, this would be the biggest sport in the world. So I just want to say this weekend, if you got some way to get to a track, and I said it last week, get out there and have fun. It changed my life. I'm no different than you. I met these guys and they're fantastic. And this is what racing's all about. It's just the people you make. And so I just encourage everyone, let's never lose track of that, because I know we can get behind the comments and yelling at each other. We all love the same little niche sport. It's not little, but we're all in this together. And I think let's try to turn this year around for positivity, because I didn't see a perfect game, but I got a perfect friendship.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Oh, good God.
That's the Hallmark line. Lame, but there you go. And it's been awesome. And let's hope we see something special this weekend, You
almost you killed it till you had it great. Till that, and
I had to land it badly, but I pleasure being on with you.
And we survived that little small space with each other, and so we're great friends when we have to go up and down to the arch, that tiny ass thing. And honestly, maybe the highlight of the trip was being inside that thing. So
that's right. I think so.
That's an off-air story.
It is funny though, because so we're there with you, we're there with Paul Monique, also met through racing. I mean, Heather, I know from Halterman, right? But it's like everyone is, by the way, we're texting with John White while we're there. Like everyone is like, it's just amazing. I always tell people around here, it's like I have friends. Yeah, I have a ton of friends, but 90% of them don't live near me. It's like they're all scattered. Like I have people in California, and I have friends in New York, and I have friends in Florida and wherever. Like it's just like, oh, so it's just funny how the sport and this job has been that way for us. So yeah, it's cool. Met Ryan on the rail of. What year of that Breeders' Cup? What Breeders' Cup was?
I think 2012. I'd say 12.
I think it was 12. Yeah.
12. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. We got like 12 years of friendship under our belts, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Honestly. Yeah. But
that's ruined it.
That's the thing, though. What I mean is, it's like it's really not about the wins, the losses, and this. It's like the memories, and I can remember every bet we made, or Heather getting that crazy long shot from Lucas, and
Yeah.
Exactly. Hey, I do recommend joining the Discord and finding your community. And I definitely got to get in there too. But I think, listen, tune in next week, because there's always something fun in racing when you get into it. And there's going to be a lot to talk about after what we just covered,
Exactly. And what's more fun than cashing a ticket at the track? It's bragging to all your friends that you cashed a ticket at the track. So it's like, that's what it's all about. It's about having fun and enjoying it with the people that you like to hang out with. And I think, I don't know what it is. I guess it's because it's like a niche type sport or whatever. I've never experienced that with friends that I go to football games with, or friend. It just seems like it's such a defined community there in horse racing. It's like where it's like you can just sit and talk about a horse and why that horse should have won the Breeders' Cup in 2012 or whatever. Yep. And it's like you can't. I don't know. It's just. Well, I guess maybe because a lot of people don't relate to that. And so when you do find those people, it's like, they're just your people. So I don't know.
Yep.
100%.
All right, guys, that's all the time we have. Thanks for everybody for tuning in. It's been great. This is Ryan. We won't see we'll see on here, I'm sure, again, but not in Halterman's kitchen. No. So this is your last blinkers off at the Halterman homestead.
Yeah, it is. But I'll be back. There's too much to cover. And hopefully you guys will need someone to read your news again on a week.
We will, we'll discuss that privately about if that is a segment that we will continue on or not. We'll see. All right, guys.
Look who showed up, by the way. Look at this guy.
Time, Kevin. It's over. This is a long show.
I haven't seen him since Saratoga. I think he took like a 3-week honeymoon, maybe. So,
he's probably pretty dehydrated.
I would think.
That was my boy. That's my boy, Kevin. All right, guys. I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. He's Brian Stillman. We will see you next week.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Blinkers Off. Join our horse racing community at racingdudes.com and follow us on Twitter at racing_dudes. Want to make money betting horses? Bet with the Racing Dudes.